And we're live.
And we're live. Welcome to New Leaf News presents the Legends Clubhouse. I am Bobby Kaboose, as always, with my boy Lawson Turner. What's going on, Lawson? How was your weekend, man?
Oh, bro, the weekend was exciting. As a Lakers fan and LeBron fan, it wasn't the best because losing games 3 and 4. They're down 3-1 in the series. However,
Yeah,
LeBron's
hell yeah.
done. LeBron's
Maybe
done
they
a.
should put Bronny.
Huh?
Maybe they should put Bronny in. Maybe he'll do something.
Hey, someone's got to slow down Anthony Edwards. No, though, but overall, like, the draft was awesome. The NBA playoff games have been electric. The NHL playoff games have been awesome. So it's a great going into a great Monday show, and I'm ready to get the bit started.
Nice, man. Nice. Yeah, Saturday, spent out in the cold, watching my nephew's doubleheader.
Oh, yeah?
Um,
How do you do?
They unfortunately I think they lost the second game. I left midway through the game because they were trying to get some other kid playing time, so they took him out.
Oh, that's no good.
Um but the first game they were like I got there and it was already 7-0. They were losing, but in the top of the seventh they made it pretty interesting. They came back and just lost 7-6, and they
Mm.
had a chance to take the lead in the seventh inning. But it was funny because before we left, we obviously checked the weather, see how it was, and it was supposed to be, 55, 60. So I wore shorts and a hoodie, and we pull up, and, me not really going outside to check the actual weather, it was windy as shit. And I was freezing, and I had to give my hoodie to my girlfriend so she would have an extra layer. People are in like fucking wrapped in blankets and shit, and I'm standing there in shorts.
Wearing
And,
a big puff. People showing up
and then
wearing puffies.
right, I had to go back to the car and grab a different hoodie that I happened to have in the car, but
It's
so she could
funny.
be layered up, and I just sat there with numb legs. Um, but that was fun, man. Went golfing yesterday,
Oh,
first
yeah?
time of the year. So
How'd you go?
we were well, so we went to a local course, obviously, and
Mm.
we had some bad weather on Friday, and the course was still flooded, so half the holes weren't playable. There was a frost warning, or they were, whatever. So the people that tried to tee off at 6:30 a.m., they were backed up. So we ended up not even golfing there because it would have been like a 40-minute wait, and they were just trying to pump people out, and we had someone that was on a time restriction. So
Yeah.
we were like, "Fuck this." So we actually went to a driving range dome,
Mm-hmm.
and we were like, all right, we'll get a couple of bucket of balls and whatever, just hit. And
Kind of like,
but they ended up
kind of like Top Golf.
no, this is strictly just hitting, like
Oh.
it's games or whatever. But they did have like a simulator, so or a
Mm.
type of simulator. So we ended up playing St. Andrews golf course out in Scotland,
Yeah.
and that was fun. So we had a few drinks doing that, and
Mm.
then we did our little Sunday fun day routine by going to the local watering hole and taking a lot of shots. Um, I feel a little hungover this morning, but we're all right.
Yeah, the show must go
Um,
on.
yeah, the show must go on. I was laying in bed. I was like, man, I don't want to work. I don't want to do the show. I just want to fucking sleep. But I am here. Commitments, and the show almost got derailed a little bit because of stomach issues. Man, that fucking Whopper last night
Bro,
after,
I don't
dude.
know what it's been, but this whole morning, so to kind of peek behind the curtain, uh I messaged, Mr. Caboose, and I was like, "Hey, when you call, I'm gonna run to this bathroom right quick, cause I don't know if there's a stomach bug going on, but
Yeah, man.
I'm happy to know I'm not the only
Yeah,
one."
it's not just you. It must be running through the clubhouse, dude. So maybe, there's maybe we need to filter out our
Running
water,
through the.
something, bro. But yeah,
Oh, it's
let's
funny.
dive into it, man. The elephant in the room, obviously, is the Shedeur Sanders shit, dude.
Mm,
What is your take on it? Everyone that I've talked to about it thinks it's fucking hilarious, and I kind of do too.
right.
Um, bro got drafted in the fifth round, man. 144th overall. That's
Yeah.
12 times 12, bro. He was supposed to go top 10, right? Or somewhere in there.
The the whole see. when I went out for the draft, and I think I said this on Friday's show, I was like, okay, Giants trade up, get Jackson Dart, okay. Then when the Steelers were on the clock, I'm like, okay, here comes Shedeur, and
Yeah.
we draft the defense tackle out of Oregon. I'm like, oh, that's a surprise, because from everything that I've heard is that Mike Tomlin loves him, he's this guy, and I'm like, okay, so we'll draft Shedeur, and we don't. I was like, okay, that's a little bit of a surprise. Second round, first quarterback off the board is that 26-year-old quarterback that goes to New Orleans.
26. He's
Yeah,
26 years old.
yeah,
Is that the dude from Louisville that like had that clip of him can't throw in it?
yeah. The
That
Saints,
little slider fucking shit,
the
and it's just like fucking wide right.
the Saints took him
I
40th.
kept seeing retweets of like
The
this guy
Saint,
looks like that before.
dude, for real, the Saints took him 40th overall.
All right,
So
yep.
you take him above Shedeur, and then in the third round, it's like the Seahawks took Jalen Milroe. And
Yep.
then 2 picks later, Cleveland, the team that took Shedeur, they draft Dylan Gabriel. So
Who's Dylan Gabriel? What school is he out of?
he was the quarterback at Oregon, the lefty.
Okay, gotcha.
Um,
Well, yeah,
and
quarterbacks are.
it
You got
it's
to well, you gotta almost flip your entire offense for a
yeah,
left-handed. Because you gotta have your left tackle, or you gotta have your right tackle the best tackle instead of your
pass
left
blocker,
tackle.
right. But it's still so funny to me because with him falling all the way to the fifth round, number one, I thought it was hilarious. Number one,
Yeah,
number two, for everyone that's freaking out, like when I was watching and Mel Kiper was losing his ever loving mind the entire show, it's like it's not as if he was Andrew Luck coming out. It's not like he
yeah,
was a no doubt. Like when you look on the tape, there are a lot of positives, but there are also a lot of red flags. Like holding the
right.
ball too long, good solid arm, nothing to write home about.
Homeboy was 13-12 as a starter, dude.
It's like
Like, I get it's Colorado, but like
the thing.
without Travis Hunter, where would they be too?
The thing it's great that you brought that up. Another thing to me, yeah, yes, you were extremely accurate, threw for a bunch of yards, and had a productive career at Colorado. But it's not like he was doing it in the SEC.
Right.
Like and when all the reports started coming out of how bad his interview process went, it just goes to show like he interviewed terribly. He didn't work out of the combine. He kind of rubbed a lot of these GMs the wrong way, and I feel as if, and I'm sure you're more seasoned in life than I. The stigma around black quarterbacks, it was they could be crazy athletic, but they don't have the mental to play the position. In
Yeah.
the old guard, I feel like for this instance, it's gone so far that was the old stigma that it's now the complete opposite as to Shedeur's not a crazy athlete. His arm is he has a slightly above average arm. Yes, he's crazy
Yeah.
accurate, but there's a lot of athletic. It's the athletic stuff that we're tearing him for.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. I didn't think of that. What I think is that okay, dude was showing up to fucking practice and shit in a Bentley. Like he doesn't seem like a good teammate.
Hmm.
Like it's okay, or I won't even say it's okay, but it's acceptable to have a diva receiver, not a diva quarterback, man.
Hmm.
Like you're supposed to be a leader. You're supposed to be, able to be a field general, and with I think the NFL GMs, I don't know, obviously we don't know for sure, but I
Hmm.
wouldn't have been surprised if they all agreed, like, dude, let's send these kids a message about, because NIL has changed the game.
Yeah.
These kids are making millions of dollars in college, which get your bag, right?
Hmm.
Expect the hustle. Yeah, love that tagline, right?
Right.
Um, so um, you know, I think they're sending a message to future college athletes to be like, look, man, you fucking act like an asshole. Like, we
Hmm.
ain't fucking taking, we're not putting up with this shit. Like, you want to come in here like your shit don't fucking stink and you haven't played a fucking down in the NFL? Like,
Hmm.
okay, man, like, you ain't your dad. first of all. And my brother actually made a good point about Dion, as far as when he did this shit and had the big chains and shit, he was the first to do it. Like now all
Right.
these kids, they a lot of these kids fucking they walk across that stage like they look like fucking clowns with these suits on, dude. Like what happened to like just being like professional and just being like, I know you want to be flashy and shit, but like, dude, like
Mm-hmm.
what happened to just a fucking normal fucking nice suit and, nice handshake, man, let's go. And but I think these GMs are sending a message that to these kids like, hey, you may have made some money in college, but this shit is a whole nother animal, man. You got to take this shit serious. And
Mm-hmm.
I just actually read a stat while I was going to the bathroom. Mel, I think I don't know if it's true. Obviously Twitter is not real, and people can say whatever the fuck they want on there.
Right.
But someone had posted that Mel Kiper said quarterbacks that have been drafted in the fifth round from '94 to 2024 from last year are 0-43 as far as becoming starters.
Yeah. The overwhelming to one side is like, oh, well, Shedeur could have been, drafted so high and then he fell. Well, it not going to your point as to the GMs or whoever's making the final decision saying, oh, we're going to collude and just not take him. It the NFL told us that he's not a starter. They
Right.
if a franchise thought, oh, he is our savior, you take him
Yep.
and
Yep.
no questions asked. Like the
Right.
team that ended up drafting him, once again, they took another quarterback before you.
Before
And if
him.
you're
And they got the roster now?
right, so like you have Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Deshaun Watson, Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur. And if you're not going to take Shedeur to be your starter, there's no reason to use another pick for like your backup quarterback. Whether it be, you could take Dylan Gabriel, you could take, Jalen Milroe. Hell, like I said, the Saints took a 26-year-old quarterback out of Louisville
Yeah.
just to be their backup. Because to me, it
Dude's older than you.
right. It res it resembles to me. Do you remember a couple years ago when Cam Newton went to New England
Yeah.
and they had a nice year, and then they draft Mac Jones, and when it was
Hmm.
apparent that okay, Mac Jones is going to be the starter, and they let Cam go. Cam's too big of a personality to be a backup quarterback. So
Right.
like if you're not drafting Shedeur to be your starter, why even touch him? Because
Right.
because if you start out, I don't know, 2-4, everyone's gonna be, Shadeur's gonna be headlines. All the media's gonna be at his locker, and then whatever, and then people are gonna want to get cameras on Dion now, and they're gonna ask Dion
Right.
non-Colorado questions. They're gonna continue to ask about Shedeur, which the whole thing to me. I thought he was a solid prospect. I never thought he was anything crazy to write home about. Like a lot of these other quarterbacks, like Jalen Milroe,
Yeah.
yes, he's very inaccurate. However, if you turn on the first half of the Georgia game, oh my God, he looks like the best player in the country, and his ceiling
Right.
is so high. Or like for Dylan Gabriel, it's great intangibles. And you brought up the fact that he doesn't seem like a good teammate. There are a couple videos of him literally like, oh, how many times was my running back touched, and that's why the run game wasn't going. Like, dude, you cannot blame your teammates. Like,
Right.
se- um, Drew Brees had a great quote years ago. It was playing the quarterback position is 70-30 intangibles. Like being a good leader, showing up on time, rallying your troops and stuff like that. That's why when great example when these quarterbacks are, getting interviewed, it's like, damn, I wish they were a better prospect because you fall in love with these kids.
Right.
Like,
And this is the opposite. Like,
yeah,
like if
it's the
you're
complete
talent
opposite.
and now you fail because like, I saw again, I believe like the internet's not real, right? Because obviously you can post whatever the fuck you want
Right,
and whatever. But there was I seen things about like an NFL assistant saying that he was the worst interview that they've ever had. Like
right.
it was like an arrogant fuck. Like and like didn't he have like a list of teams and it seemed like it was like a third of the league that he wouldn't play for, and I'm sure Cleveland was on that list.
Yeah, Dion
And
said at the Super Bowl that okay, well, we're going to. This isn't, this is kind of paraphrasing. It's like, okay, we're gonna do it, our way. There's a list of teams that we're gonna play for. It's like, well, obviously over the past two or last year there were what, five quarterbacks taken in the first two rounds. So you're not talking to
Yeah.
those teams. You're not
Yeah.
you're not talking to the teams with veteran quarterbacks like Kansas City, Philly, Baltimore, Buffalo. You're not talking to those teams. So it's like,
Detroit.
right. So it's like you're hurting the small draft pool that needs a quarterback anyways.
Right. Yeah, and I was actually thinking that he was going to go in round 2 to the Raiders
Mm.
because I know they have a relationship with Tom Brady, and I was like, man, that, like if he what or if he is an NFL starting quarterback, if he has the talent to do so, I was like that would have been a nice draft with getting Genty in the first round and
Mhm.
Shedeur in the second round if he has NFL talent, but again, you kind of said it, like if this guy had the talent and they could put up with not only his personality but his dad's personality,
Mhm.
I you pick him. But again, like, do you I think a lot of these teams were like, hey man, like if we bring this dude in, he's gonna kill our culture. Like,
Right.
like, because like I said, man, a receiver is one thing because you can be like, all right, man, I can get you the ball, or you can just go fuck yourself on the other side of the field,
Right.
and we can just like there's workarounds, like,
Mhm.
but with the quarterback, dude, no one's gonna put up with that shit. Like
Right.
you see it, like you said, quarterbacks are leaders. They shouldn't, have these big egos and attitude problem because they are supposed to be the ultimate team guy.
It seems to me also that like he's walking the fine line of cocky and confidence, and he's on the other side of it. Like,
Right.
I have no problem if you're overconfident, because as a professional athlete, you have to be overconfident. Even though your shit
Yeah.
might not stink, you still gotta you gotta talk yourself up and stuff like that. It's also interesting because there were a lot of players with red flags coming in that got drafted. Like the Baltimore Ravens, 59th overall, they took Mike Green, the pass rush out of Marshall, that I know you were talking about how you wanted. He was accused of sexual assault in high school and in college, and they still took him. You know why? Because he can get to the quarterback. The
Yeah.
teams over the whole pantheon of the NFL history, they've shown we can pass. We will sweep under the rug criminal charges if you can play. And
Yeah.
the fact that he still fell to the fifth round, it shows me how a lot of the NFL GMs, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall on the phone call when Cleveland called Shedeur to draft him, because they can't.
Oh, dude, did you see the clip of the kid fucking calling him from the prank?
Yeah, I saw that.
He's a,
It's such a not saying scumbag thing, but it's just like, damn, dude, that's fucked up. And
yeah.
then when they showed the clip of the Giants draft room, they're all just golf clapping about taking Shedeur, and
Yeah.
so it's like you can't tell them, oh, we love you, because you took another kid at my position ahead of me. So it's like,
Right.
oh, we're excited for you to come in and compete. Well, if you really loved me, you would have taken me in, maybe not top five, but you would have took you had two picks in the top of the second. You could have took me with, you could have took me, the third. You took a player. You took Dylan Gabriel in the fourth round. So it's like that would have been just an interesting phone call to listen into. I saw a
Yeah,
fun.
Cleveland did the old Washington Redskins thing, man, where when they took RG3 and Kirk Cousins in the same year, and
Yeah,
you're like, the hell is that?
yeah.
Like,
It's even more.
you're just gonna draft two quarterbacks and have them compete like that high? Like,
I
okay.
mean, I
I guess you're not in love with one, and you kind of like both of them. I don't know, man. You have
right,
two quarterbacks. You have two quarterbacks. So
with the history of NFL players, especially at certain positions. Oh, we'll draft multiple people at your position and just compete. I don't have anything
yeah,
wrong with drafting two quarterbacks, but it's funny to me how the Cleveland Browns draft went, because
yeah,
you do such a good draft, you do such a good job in the top of the first to trade down, still get a blue chip, and you get a second and an extra first next year, and then it's like, okay, you draft two running backs and two quarterbacks, so it's like, I don't know.
yeah. What are you doing here?
That quarterback
I guess
battle throughout
not
all.
gonna resign. I guess they're not going to resign Nick Chubb when his contract's
I think
up.
he's
I
a
think
free
he's got.
agent, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, is it?
I think he's a free agent because, like, ever since he, damn near destroyed his kneecap against the Steelers on, I think it was a Thursday night in Pittsburgh. He's just never been the same.
Yeah.
Because, for the majority of his career, it was, he's a borderline top 5 pure running back.
Right.
And it's just, he's never been the same.
It's funny you bring up like the sexual assault and shit like that, because we were just talking about that on Saturday with my brother, as far as like, my nephew's playing high school baseball. He's hoping to have some colleges look at him and shit. And like my brother was telling him, like, dude, you have to keep up your grades and shit, because it's not like football or basketball where they're taking, convicts and let them on the fucking field, like, because those are the sports that make money. He's like, baseball players don't do that, like they can't do that shit, because they just won't take you, if your grades are bad, or if you got some kind of record or
Yeah.
past. Like, you stay clean, man.
Unless you're Bryce Harper, who drops out of high school at 16, goes get his GED, goes straight into minor league ball.
Right.
Yeah.
The rare case,
Yeah, the one of a million things. Now, because I know you're a Detroit lover, what's your take on the Josh Hart no call at the end of Game 4?
So, unfortunately, I missed the game yesterday.
Yeah.
But as soon as we got to our Sunday fun day, man, first thing out of fucking people's mouth, Pistons got fucked by multiple people. Like, dude, you see the Pistons, they got fucked. And then, so, I look up the clip, man, and they got fucked, man.
Right.
And, it sucks because, I think this is why the NBA has a terrible rep. Because they love their big market teams. The small, Detroit is, and like, it's weird because Detroit seems like it would be a big market, but it's really not.
It's a great sports town.
Yes, but like, it's not a desirable location. Like, unfortunately, people don't want to be here, deal with the fucking weather and shit. And it's probably got a bad reputation outside of. I guess it has somewhat of a bad reputation too. It's getting better, but
right.
But yeah, it's like, how is that a no call? That's a I get the whole, last play of the game, we're putting the whistles in our fucking pockets. I get that. The NBA's kind of always been like that. It's very tough to get a fucking call at the last play of the game. But that shit, dude, like, how are you gonna, like, make the dude readjust, have complete contact, and you can tell it affected the shot. Like, the shot was fucking way off. And so, who was it, Hardaway that got that foul? I mean, they lose by 1. He should have got 3 free throws. Even if you miss 1 or miss 2, the game should at least been tied at that point.
Right.
He's not going to go 0-3 at the line unless you Nick Anderson the shit. But
in the regular season, he was an 85.5% free throw shooter. So odds are he's making 2 out of 3.
Yeah, the series should be at 2-2. Now I think it's over. Just cut the head off.
With some, I was gonna say, for someone who has watched every dribble of the playoffs, it's been so awesome. This game was one of the more physical games of the entire postseason. Like, there were so many plays down low that weren't called, where it's just like, okay, well, we're gonna let the players decide. But I stand on the side of, if it's a foul in the first 2 minutes, it's a foul in the last 2 minutes. If it's a foul, it's a foul. Just call it, and you can live with the decision. And like, the head of the crew chief said after the game, during live play, it looked like marginal contact. However, after looking at the replay in the post game, there should have been a foul. Where as a Pistons Detroit fan, you're like, I don't want to hear that shit. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to fucking hear it. You can keep that.
Just ignore it at that point. Just be like, But
it shouldn't have been a call.
Isn't there a review system in the NBA too? Like,
there is, however, you can't challenge non-calls.
But they can't. The refs themselves can't review it.
No. So if a foul wasn't called, unless a team you can challenge plays out of bounds. You can challenge if there was a no call. You can challenge um, you can challenge a lot of different things. And so here's an example. In the Laker game, they late in the game, Lakers down one. They need to stop it. There's like 11 seconds left. LeBron swipes down on Anthony Edwards, drives, and knocks the ball free, and it goes off Anthony Edwards, and they call it Laker ball. Minnesota challenges because they had a challenge, um, and they came out with this UAV sky cam to show that I've never seen before that showed LeBron hit hand first. So as opposed to reviewing who touched it last, they said, "Oh, foul on LeBron."
Oh, all right. Well,
Yeah. So
see,
like, it,
like
mhm.
with this no call on the Pistons, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of rule change. I mean, maybe because it's the Pistons, it won't. But like this,
Right.
like they can't have this shit happening, dude. Like especially in the last minute or
Mhm.
whatever, or maybe they should make it where it's the last possession. We can always look.
Yeah.
And I guess that kind of takes the natural thrill of the game ending out
Mhm.
of it for the crowd because like if say that was the case, say they had this rule that they could be like, hey, we're gonna review the last play or whatever, so you think say the Knicks win, but they review the play and they're like, oh, maybe it's gonna take the crowd spontaneity out
Yeah.
of it. Like as far as like them cheering for a win because you're essentially then announcing the winner and like almost like boxing or wrestling and being like,
Right.
after review, the game is over and the Pistons or the Knicks win, and
Mhm.
you either get your reactions like that, but they should have something in place where you can review something like that without having to be like, oh, it was a non-call, so I can't do anything about it. Like,
Mhm. For example,
what kind of shit is
for
that?
example, if the foul would have been called on the floor and the Knicks had a challenge, they could have challenged it if it was call no call. But because there was no foul given, there was
Yeah,
chance to use a coach's challenge. And once again, I don't even remember if the Knicks had a challenge to use because
I mean, it should be a league challenge. It shouldn't have to be a team. Like I'm saying, the last
yeah,
30
I
seconds or whatever.
yeah, I get what you're saying. I'm just, saying that was how, they could have used a challenge if a call would have
Right.
been, because it seems now with almost any call or out of bounds, the universal sign is players turn to like their side and do the review that shit call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the challenges like in baseball and basketball are still so foreign to me, especially in basketball because like I don't pay attention that much to the NBA.
So,
It's just so
mhm.
foreign when I see that like, oh yeah, they're challenging the call. I'm like, what? What the fuck is
so
it football? Throw a fucking red flag onto the fucking court?
it was so funny because when they first were talking about the coaches challenge, that's what I was like. I was like, are they just gonna give him like a little hacky sack to just throw on the court?
Right. Yeah, fucking
um,
chuck the over his head like I fucking chucked a Reptar at my girlfriend's crotch before this fucking game.
that
She was wearing pants. I'm just saying. She was
nice,
coming around, and I just fucking threw a Reptar through the thing. Little Reptar. Little Reptar?
nice. And then
Yeah.
so in basketball, you get one coach's challenge, and you can challenge out of bounds, you can challenge a foul, anything like that. And if you
Yeah.
if you win the challenge, you get one more for the game.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. It's
um
just
the
stupid. That's
the challenge can also like kind of be weird because if they called a shooting foul on one player and then they review that there was, oh, I don't think there was a foul, and someone else fouled in the same play, they can be like, okay, we're gonna assess the right foul to your center as opposed to your guard who was guarding the player driving.
yeah.
Yeah, which
So
is
you
kind of
so essentially they challenge the entire
the entire
motion of the
play.
play.
Yeah. So
Everything.
like
So
if
because unlike the NFL, I think that you have to specify what you're challenging, and
yeah,
they only
well,
look at that one thing.
you can specify what you're challenging. So, example, if Cade Cunningham drives on Josh Hart and Josh and a foul gets called on Josh Hart, but Cat was another player contesting. Um,
Hmm.
and the Knicks challenge the call. They can take the foul off of Josh Hart, and in that same, because it's the play, they're like,
Yeah,
oh, but he actually got fouled by Cat. So they would give a
right,
foul to Cat, and they still shoot free throws. So
right.
so sometimes the challenge
You
can
got to get
kind
rid
of
of that shit, just like they got rid of traveling a long time ago.
the so that's where like the challenges can kind of hurt. So it's like, oh, um, it can help and hurt because like, oh, it wasn't a foul on him, it was actually a foul on him, and if he's got
Yeah,
four, well, it's like, well, shit, I probably shouldn't have challenged it, you know,
right.
because
Yeah,
now he's got five, and it would just would have been bro's third, stuff
right,
like that,
right.
though. But what were your thoughts on like the entirety of the Lions draft?
So I l- I really only I really only pay attention to the first three picks, but I do know that they got an edge rusher. Um, in the later rounds,
Hmm.
because I think they had like two sixes and two sevens. They made some trades in the middle there. But the first three picks, I believe it was the D tackle from Ohio State. Again, I think we talked about this on Friday because we recapped the first round.
Yeah.
Um, any time that you can make your best player better by picking someone else up is a win.
Hmm.
So if this dude is, Aleem McNeil is going to be out until around Halloween, so he's going to be missing the first by 5 or 6 weeks.
Hmm.
Um, so he'll be able to fill in right there. I think he's going to be a day one starter because of that. And if not, usually your first, you're hoping that your first and second round are day one starters, right?
Yeah.
Your third and fourth then are, more of like a depth guy, potential future starters, and then, your 5 through 7 are, guys that you hope can get for just depth and make the team and maybe you hit a home run, right?
Right.
So as far as the first round, the D tackle out of Ohio State, I forget his name, but like I said, if you make Aiden Hutchinson better and you get an opportunity to at least get a double team somewhere else, you just made the team better. You made your best player better.
Hmm.
Love it. Second round, first round. I either wanted an edge rusher or to go on the other side of Aiden, or an offensive lineman.
Hmm.
Detroit has had one of the best offensive lines in the last couple of years, but they are getting older. So just the way Brad Holmes drafts, it's we build in the trenches and we work our way out, and I
Hmm.
love it. Like that's how you win football games. The Eagles prove that, the Lions prove that, the Chiefs prove the opposite as far as like when they don't have protection for Mahomes,
Hmm.
and they've proven the same thing when they had a dominant defensive line as well. So um second round they go with the guard. I love it. They
Tate
lost
Rutledge. Yeah.
Zeitler, or it was Zettler or whatever his name was
Hmm.
from Minnesota. They had for a year. He's no longer with the team. He was a great addition last year, but you fill that spot. You continue to, produce the offensive lineman.
Hmm.
That I love the pick. As far as position, I don't know much about these players as far as what they did in college, but I love the positioning. Um, Third round, I believe they got the 6'4" receiver from Arkansas.
Hmm.
Uh, and dude is supposed to be a possession receiver. He had a nice 40 time.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if they re-signed Tim Patrick or not. To me, he was a great signing last year. Once he got acclimated into the offense, he was a great number three. Detroit's got so many weapons on offense right now with Amon Ra, J-Mo. You got Sonic and Knuckles. And Sam Laporta is, quickly becoming one of the best tight ends in the league.
Hmm.
So a third receiver, of course you need it, but of course you want it, but they don't necessarily need it. But this dude I think will be a great third option as far as receivers go. And they're just stacking up, the weapons for Jared Goff. They ended up addressing their edge rusher. Hopefully, he's somebody in the later rounds that can either they can plug and play here and there. But overall, man, I like the draft. We trust Brad Holmes here. Like he has proven with the getting that bastard Matt Stafford out of here. And if you just look at that trade alone,
Hmm.
like what the pieces of it actually turn into,
Yeah.
dude, we have all pros all over the place from that trade. So
Hmm.
here in Detroit, we trust Brad Holmes, man. Like, if he picks them, we roll with him.
The
You
thing,
know?
the thing too about the Stafford trade, and it's a philosophy that will eventually work. If you just put enough talent on the field, it works.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
that's literally what happened. You take the Stafford trade and you get Goff, solid starter, and then what the picks turned into Gibbs, Laporta. I don't know if the pick was involved, but Brian Branch has been excellent. There's a lot of really like for real, you've got a lot of really nice starters
yeah,
from that trade, and I think you guys had from a position of need, yeah, you guys you picked up two receivers, you picked up an offensive lineman, defensive tackle in positions of need. I would have It's gonna be interesting to see how the DB market works out for you guys because you lost
yeah,
a couple guys, but it's a bunch of
yeah. But uh we got Kirby. We got the
resign,
young
yeah.
guys. So I didn't see it, but I have to look this clip up, man. Terry and Arnold, I guess, selected one guy in the draft,
Yeah,
and shitting on Green Bay, which we love it here.
in
Like,
Green Bay,
he's like,
it's
"Thank
awesome
God
too. Yeah,
Green Bay didn't draft me and all this shit. I'm undefeated against them and
that's funny.
shit like that." Which is still like so like surreal to say because we've been fucking losers for 60, 70 years, dude, and like
And now
now
y'all
like
are,
Lions are like the
kings of the
Lions are like
NFC
a
North. Yeah,
team, right? Like it's fucking funny to say, bro. Like it's unreal
it's been
that
great to see the turnaround of like Detroit
yeah,
teams because like now like from the Pistons going from 14 wins last year to
yep,
almost being in a 2-2 series tie with the Knicks. Then you have the Lions who for the better part of both of our lives they've been dog ass, and
yeah,
now they're one of the premier teams in the NFC in the entire NFL.
right.
Yeah,
And then the Tigers had the fucking magical run last year.
and
I think it was August 13th or something. They had less than 1% to make the playoffs, and then they end up being the best team in the MLB in the last 40 some games. And
Scooble also
they've
had
been
another excellent game
somehow
the
they're
other day.
carrying it. Yeah, somehow they're carrying it over this season. Like, I didn't think they were gonna be that good this year. Like, it's that shit that they did last year. They were on local sports talk radio. They were calling it voodoo. They were calling it magic. We couldn't fucking explain it. I mean, it was literally Scooble and a bunch of chaos as far as starting pitchers. We had a bunch of bullpen days. Like, AJ Hinch himself just literally called it chaos. Like, yeah, we have Scooble and chaos, and so um with them, I didn't think it was going to carry over because that's just not sustainable for 162 games. They play, and they didn't really sign anyone.
Mm.
Um,
They just kind of ran
like
it back. I mean,
right?
they got Flaherty back, which is good, which is a
Yeah,
big
which
signing.
was
But
crazy. Which was
yeah,
crazy because you don't see that very much in the MLB. Like
you
if
trade a
a
player
lot of
away, they win a ring, and then they go back to where they originally
yeah.
traded him. Yeah.
Yeah, and our pitching has been great. Casey Mize has stepped up. He's finally like flourishing. I mean, I think he was a 1-1 pick, first overall, round one. Um and Torque is the same way. He was a 1-1 and he is now flourishing. Like, he's got 9 or 10 home runs already. Like, it seems
Mm.
like he's hitting one every other day. And dude, they're a fun team to watch. They're fast. They
Hmm.
steal bases. They're aggressive. Um, but yeah, man, what about your Steelers? Are you happy
Oh,
with
dude,
draft?
I am
You're a big
so.
Shedeur guy. Wanted him, and you're like, hey, I want my franchise quarterback. But then you guys ended up getting what, Charlie Batch?
First of all, if we were gonna draft a quarterback in the first round, I wanted Jackson Dart. However, I'm happy the way our draft ended. Derek Harmon, awesome player. It's really sad because when he was getting drafted, his mom had been on life support, and after doing media stuff, he was like, okay, I'm gonna wrap up this after this media. I'm gonna go to the hospital, tell her that her son got drafted and we made the NFL, and she ended up dying shortly after he got there. But at least he got there to tell her that hey, we made it, we made the NFL.
I was hoping that you were saying like she was on life support and he got
And
drafted
she
to the
pulled
NFL
through.
and yeah, like she like jumped out of bed like Charlie's grandpa and Willy Wonka, and
Yeah,
like you're like, what
it's
the fuck, dude? Like this dude
yeah.
was bedridden. That should have been, we had that episode last week about the non-movie villains. That motherfucker, dude,
He should have been top of the
fucking laying in the
list.
bed for fucking years, and then you got a fucking golden ticket. I'm gonna fucking hop, skip, and jump and do flips and fucking look like Will Ospreay out of here
A
and
hundred
fucking do all this
percent.
gymnastics and shit. And we get to go to the fucking chocolate factory because I'm gonna fucking ride the coattails of my fucking grandson.
Yeah.
Anyway, I
Um.
was hoping a
For
scenario like that because that would have been real life and he would
yeah,
have been able to.
it would have been an awesome story, but the Roonies put out a really nice message saying the thoughts and prayers with him, and that this season this season, if there was ever, like, not saying you need extra motivation, but that's an awesome thing
Yeah,
to, well, it's not awesome that his mom passed away, but it's a nice story to it was great that he at least got to tell her that, hey,
yeah,
we made the NFL, and a lot of people, a lot of religious people online were saying, like, it was her time, but the man upstairs held her on for
yeah,
just that long enough.
yeah. I
Um
mean,
in the
like it was cool that she was able to hang on at least for the announcement. Or I mean, I'm sure. I don't know if she was coherent or
Yeah,
wasn't
but
able,
still,
but
it's
no,
the presence of mind was there. We took Caleb Johnson, running back out of Iowa in the third round. I thought that was an awesome pick. With us losing Najee, I really think he's going to compete with Jalen Warren, and I think he might actually win the job and eventually be a bell cow. He had a lot of nice performances, including a 200-yard, 3-touchdown performance last year. I think it was a position of need because outside, when I'm pro Najee Harris and Jalen Warren because I think they complement each other. They were like a eBay version of Sonic and Knuckles in Detroit. You got your
yeah,
power back and your speed guy. I think Caleb Johnson's going to be excellent, assuming we get the offensive line right. I thought one of the steals, getting Jack Sawyer in the fourth round, he embodies just a Steeler guy from his time at Ohio State to where he dominated the Texas game, got the game clinching strip sack pick and scoop and score.
didn't he go down the river on a wooden raft or something?
What?
Oh, that was Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer. My bad.
There you go.
My
Wrong Sawyer. Wrong Sawyer. Um, then like you stupid, and then like you can tell he plays with a lot of passion because like his entire career at Ohio State, I don't think they beat Michigan one time. And this past year, where there was the scuffle, where they went to go plant the flag again, he was the initial one that went and broke it up and was like, "They're not planting that stupid fucking flag again. They're not."
dude.
Mhm.
So you watch WrestleMania, right?
Yeah.
They had the guy in the crowd that had the sign
Mm.
that said 1900 and some days that since State beat Michigan.
Yeah.
Actually, one of my buddies who I was with watching WrestleMania, that's his friend.
That's
That was his friend
awesome.
holding the
What?
sign. He
That's
was sending them
awesome.
pictures and shit, and
That's awesome.
he was there both. Actually, I think he was there all 3 nights for the Monday Night Raw as well.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, that's funny. But I do have a question for you, man. Since
Yeah.
we are talking about the draft, I'm not sure if you were wrapping up with your Steelers stuff, but like
Yeah, had like one more pick that I really want to talk about. But
oh,
yeah.
go ahead
Um
before I get to something.
Will Howard. Now granted, once again, I don't
Oh,
expect
how many Ohio State guys did they fucking pick?
both of them. Both of
Uh-huh.
them. They for a I think Will Howard at his like he'll be a career backup journeyman. Like I don't think he
Yeah,
has the top end talent to be like a superstar starting quarterback. However, there are a lot of things that like he once again he with the Shedeur thing, he moves good enough. He has a solid arm, nothing great. It's a great foundation to build off of. and you're getting a pure locker room guy. Not saying that Shedeur's not, but once again, they were like there was someone I'm pretty sure it was Will Howard on Twitter. He took a screenshot. Him and Jack Sawyer were FaceTiming, both with fucking Steeler hats on. Like, hey, we're ready.
Yeah,
It,
that's
it
awesome.
it's great that when two college team players from the same school get drafted to the same team. It's like the with the Jared Verse and I think it was Brandon Fisk when they both got drafted to the Rams. They played together, so they're like, "Hey, we're ready to fucking tear this shit down."
Like Burrow Chase, dude. Like their chemistry is unreal.
Yeah,
Like you
even though
build that up.
yeah, even though it's two sides of the ball, it's still just the camaraderie
Right.
is there to follow.
Yeah. Yeah,
Follow
100%. And
and
especially as rookies, like
oh,
you got someone that's got your back,
right.
and shit like that.
Mm.
Someone to train with, someone to work out with, someone to
Someone
get to
who
the
you're
stadium.
familiar with, because
Yeah, exactly.
going from NFL to college, it's a completely different ball game.
Right. It's a
Yeah.
business.
Uh, uh,
It goes from and college now is becoming a business with the NIL and all that. Um,
mm.
but my question was for you. So I am in a dynasty football league.
Oh God.
Um, I took over a team. This will be my third year.
Mm.
I took over a team, and so my team is in rebuild mode. I have 3 first-round draft picks this year.
Mm.
So for those that don't know about Dynasty, it's like Madden, right? Madden for fantasy football. You keep your same team forever. You have like 28 roster spots. It's crazy. But you only draft new rookies, right?
Mm.
So you have uh you can trade draft picks. It's just like being like an NFL GM. It's pretty damn cool.
Right.
And so I took this team over. I'm in the middle of a rebuild. I got 3 first-round picks this year, 2 next year. I got a bunch of seconds next year. So like by 2027, I think I should be kind of up there in as long as I can draft right.
Mm.
But anyway, so this year I have the 3rd overall pick. And, some people in the league weren't happy with my decision in the last week of the season because not only did I have to lose the game, but I had to lose against somebody that I wasn't even playing against point wise to get into that 3rd spot because my thing was I need to get in the top 3 because the top 3 picks at the time I thought were going to be Genty, Ward, and Shedeur,
Yeah.
right? So now with Shedeur dropping and probably never playing a down in the fucking NFL, now I need to know who to pick at number 3. I tried to make a trade yesterday to get in just move up one spot,
Yeah. They
and
weren't having it, were they?
dude, I tried to swap picks, and then I was giving them the first pick in the 3rd round for their 8th pick in the 3rd round. So like they would move up 7 spots in the 3rd, and I would move up 1 spot in the 1st, and they'd decline my trade. But who the fuck am I taking in number 3, man? Like
It's see.
I need quarterbacks. Um,
Mm,
but I know this is a weak draft for quarterbacks. Um, I was thinking picking 2 quarterbacks in the 1st round just to put on my taxi squad. Because like the taxi squad again, if you're not familiar, it's like a kind of a minor league. You can kind of hold them on; they're not technically on your roster, and then when
yeah.
you want to bring them up, you can bring them up. But with minimal starters, I think Ward and Genty are going 1-2.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's why I tried to get in that number 2 spot. So at least whoever picked number 1, I would be able to settle with whoever
Mm.
dropped me because I do need a quarterback and I'm kind of thin at running back. My receivers are fucking golden.
Oh, I was
So,
just about to ask how are they gonna score Travis Hunter?
I don't know. I don't
Because
know.
if he like catches a touchdown and then gets a pick the next possession, like is that like an extra 3 points for a pick or like?
I don't think so because we don't do defense.
Oh
We don't have defense.
y'all just do offensive players?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Mm.
so my quarterbacks right now, and don't make fun of me,
No, I get it.
because again, I took over a team and made a lot of moves the last couple of years to put my team in a good position to win.
Right.
But my quarterbacks right now are Justin Fields. He's last year it was like I'm like what the fuck, dude, I can't play him at all. but this year, he should be putting up some good fantasy points. I also have Kirk Cousins, which
Is what
who
it
the fuck
is.
knows now? It is what it is. I didn't think that, obviously, like I said, I took this team over when they were one of the worst teams in the league, and I just wanted to be in the league, right? And
Right.
I feel I was like, it's kind of cool starting from the bottom.
Mhm.
It does cost me money, but it's not breaking the bank. And then I have Derek Carr, who's now no
Competing
one
with a
knows if he can be.
26-year-old.
Yeah. Um, and so those are, and then I have, Jacoby Brissett because, people in this league, like I
Some
said,
people
there's
got like
not
four or
really,
five quarterbacks.
right, there's not really a waiver wire. So you pick up a quarterback when you can and
Hmm.
you just kind of keep them. But he might be off my roster because I do have to make a couple cuts. Um, my running backs, on the other hand, are Najee. I have Brian Robinson, who I made a trade for last year.
Mm.
And I think I got a fucking hell of a deal. Um, I got a lot of players in that trade, plus draft picks for Amon Ra, which is my guy, but I need more pieces. And then I got a couple nice pieces like Tank Bigsby, I think is going to improve.
Yeah.
I got Ty Spears, who I think is going to improve.
Hmm.
I also have Blake Corum, which I don't know what the hell is going on with him. He didn't play much last year,
Back
but
up for the Rams.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so but my like I said, my positions of need are those two, maybe a tight end, because my tight ends are Mike Gesicki, and then I picked a couple last year. I picked Ben Sinnott, which didn't really pan out, as a rookie at least. Eric All didn't really pan out either, as far as a rookie season.
Hmm.
I did pick up Will Disley. Actually, he did pretty well, and
Yeah. Will Dissly's. Yeah.
I'm looking at him right now, and he's only rostered in 25% of the leagues, and I'm kind of confused why. But he put up a couple good numbers for a tight end,
Mm.
a couple of weeks. But my receivers, on the other hand, are fucking stacked. So, not to get into the crazy fantasy, but I have Puka, who I drafted in the fourth round. We have 4 rounds in our draft. I picked him in the fourth round because he was Samoan, and I'm like, bloodline, baby. He's my chief right here. Um, I have Zay Flowers, who was part of that Brian Robinson trade that I got last year.
Mm.
I got JMO. I got Marvin Harrison. And then my backups are Demario Douglas, who had a nice solid year last year.
Hmm. So yeah, you've just
I
got
have Josh.
receiver galore
Yeah, I have Joshua Palmer, who now I'm excited that's
because
in
he's on the
Buffalo.
because in the Bills.
And I have Jerry Judy, who,
Destroy
resurged his career.
destroyed from like I saw something. He went from like 64th in receiving to like 8th in 2 weeks. It was ridiculous.
Yeah,
It was
yeah. And
some
so,
crazy funky stat like that. But yeah, with the third pick, it's like if they don't take Cam Ward, obviously you take Cam Ward because he's going to be a
yeah,
day one starter.
right. If they don't take Genti, I'm
You're ta-
assuming those two are
I,
off the
I was
board.
gonna say it's so funny because you're in like where New England was in this in the draft this year. It's like you're not gonna get Cam Ward. Hopefully the next two don't take Hunter or Abdul Carter. So you're just sitting there like, well,
Right,
fuck.
right.
Um,
And
third,
I don't want to pick another receiver because you can only start so many. But like I said, I do have
could you?
3 first-round picks. So
The thing is, if you take like Travis Hunter because you have the third pick, could you see what someone wants for him?
yeah, I mean, I can trade down. That's always an option. But I was also thinking, uh, to pick Tyler Warren. Do you think that would be a good pick at number 3?
I really like Tyler Warren. The thing though is his quarterback is godly inaccurate. However, with the ball, like he's versatile. You can snap it to it, hand it off to him, you can throw it to him.
Yeah,
He's I like him, but at 3, I feel you could get like. So where are your picks in the first round?
I have number 3, 10, and 12.
He'll probably be
So
there. He might be there at 10. So
okay, if he's not
and
there at 10, I might pick Loveland.
I was gonna say, I was just about to say, if he's not there, then just pick Loveland. We know Caleb Williams loves his tight ends.
Yeah,
Yeah, so 3, you're just kind of in a funky spot, dude, because
I know, man.
you don't need receivers.
Right.
So it's like Travis Hunter you would take him for trade bait unless you're gonna move another one of your receivers.
Right.
Um,
And
so it's like
like I said, you can only you can start here, let me bring it up real quick so I'm accurate on this because I think I can start 4 receivers.
I was gonna say, and third is too high for like Dart.
No, I can technically start 5 receivers because you get 3 receiver spots,
Two
a flex
flexes.
and a super flex. But like the super flex, I try to do 2 quarterbacks, but
Yeah.
since my quarterbacks are limited, I'm like fuck man, like I have 3 first round picks
Uh huh.
in probably the worst quarterback class. But should I pick Jackson Dart not at number 3?
I think it's too high. He might be there at 12.
You think so?
Well, because y'all don't do defense, it's kind of funky.
Right. Because like last year, some dude picked like three like they had like 2 or 3 picks in the first round. They picked 3 fucking quarterbacks. They picked fucking the dude that went to New England, they picked fucking Jaden and they picked I think Caleb. And I'm
That's
like, what the
funny.
fuck, dude? And I was gonna pick Michael Penix and he got picked the pick right before me, I think in the second or third round. And I'm like, motherfucker, dude.
Yeah, considering you guys don't do defense, that's really tough, dude.
I know, man.
That's really
And
tough.
like I told my buddy who runs the league because like he's got the draft set in like 90 days or something. And like last week, I go, you're gonna move that draft date up, right? Like I'm ready to fucking draft.
If
Like I love drafting.
if you're willing to thug it out with whatever quarterback you get in the second round, low key, if you're
I don't have a
uh
second round pick.
if you're willing to
I have
thug
3 first rounds and a 1 3rd round
if you're willing to
for
thug
this.
if you're willing to thug it out in the third round with whatever quarterback you take, low key, Amari and Hampton going to the Chargers, that could be a really nice play. With like
For
12th
quarterback.
overall. No, for a running back. That's why.
Oh, for running back.
That's why I said if you're willing to just thug it out, because like
Yeah.
you could take whoever you want at 3, at 10 get your tight end, at 12 get Amari and Hampton for your running back. But once again, it's such a funky spot because Dart won't start day one.
Right.
They already said
And
Russell
yeah,
Wilson's gonna be the starter.
right. And, that would be a taxi squad guy just to get a fucking quarterback on there because quarterbacks are valuable, like I said, dude. Like, there's only 32 of them.
Yeah.
So, like, one week last year, I had to start Justin Fields as my quarterback
Mm,
when he's on the Steelers and he's not even playing and he's, maybe doing 1 or 2 options the
right.
entire game. And I'm like, well, Kirk Cousins ain't playing, Derek Carr's out. And it's actually funny when I made the trade for Derek Carr a couple years ago. The guy also had Stafford, and he actually offered me Stafford and something else for
Mm.
something, and I was like, take Stafford out, give me Derek Carr, and add a draft pick,
And I'll
and
take
we're
him.
good. And
That's
he's
funny.
like, what? And I was like, I fucking hate Matt
I don't
Stafford, and
even
he's
want.
not a damn team.
That's funny as hell. Yeah, though, but that's so tough. I mean, I like Dart. Or once again, if you he will. I would be gobsmacked if he starts any. I was gonna say if you just want a pure legacy quarterback for 2-3 years from now, just go ahead and take Jalen Milroe. Fuck it,
Dude, I was thinking about taking him at 12, dude. Like I said, like I was thinking about taking 2 quarterbacks in the first round, just be like, you know,
just to have him.
eat them. I like because like I said, like the my running backs I think are decent to solid. I
Yeah,
wouldn't say good, I wouldn't say great, but like they
hmm
have potential to get better
better.
because
Yeah,
of Bigsby's been taking over in Jacksonville from
hmm
ATN, and Tyjae Spears. I still think I mean they have that motherfucker throw the ball sometimes. I mean like I
right.
think he can put up some fantasy numbers. I just hate that like there's no pure number one running backs anymore. So that's why I'm like, do I make running back an emphasis of my
A
team?
position of
I've
need.
always been a receiver guy as far as fantasy football
Hmm
because of the PPR,
Yeah,
and so even when I was in regular yearly draft football, like my thing was I always liked drafting towards the end of the round one so you get the back to back,
yeah.
and
You
I
get the
would pick
double back. Yeah.
always pick the top 2 receivers available because if your receiver catches 100 balls, that's 100 points right there.
Plus your yardage and touchdowns or whatever.
Yep.
That's why if you're in a PPR league, guys like Amon-Ra or Jay Jettis are so because they're just volume catch guys.
Or like back in the day, like Wes Welker,
Oh,
like
dude, just hit
114 catches a year, like
yeah,
fuck,
for real,
dude.
yeah. Or like Michael
So
Thomas before he fell off a cliff.
right, or like a Danny Woodhead. Like I used to draft those motherfuckers all the time. Like him and who was a little short dude, Darren Sproles.
Hmm.
He would get like 80 catches a year for a running back, dude. And
Yeah,
like
like
I
a
know you
scat
don't
back. Yeah,
run the ball that much, but who fucking cares at that point?
yeah. If it's
He's still part of the offense.
if if it's PPR, one catch is worth 10 rushing yards.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
yeah, man, think about that and let me know who I should pick at number 3. It's kind of cool too because like the way our draft works, like you basically have unlimited time to draft. So like
That's awesome. So you just sit on it for 2 days.
yeah, the draft room opens at 10 a.m. and it
Hmm.
closes at 10 p.m. every day, and
You just
you can just
however
sit
much you
on it
want.
and yep.
That's awesome. Now
But usually
because
the draft takes a few days
yeah,
because like either someone's not paying attention or
yeah.
it stalls. But then the chat starts like, "Hey man, select your fucking guy."
Right.
You know.
Now we have hit an hour, but I want to end with a hypothetical question because we're not just purely sports. There's
Right.
there's a tweet that's been going around, and I want
All
your
right.
take on it.
Okay.
There's a tweet going around that said if 100 dudes can like get just dedicated to it, they could beat up one gorilla.
Absolutely. No questions
I
asked.
think you're
I
out
know
of your
gorillas.
fucking mind.
I know what. Okay, you take you
What are
said
these
I'm
bare hands doing to a gorilla?
dude. It's not just your hands. You can fucking kick the motherfucker. Like you can stomp his ass out. Like okay, you have 100 people. You fucking circle the gorilla so he's in the middle, and then you have someone that's like you just fucking charge him. Like
So,
what are you gonna do?
so what happens? Have you seen the Avengers, the first one?
The Infinity War?
No, the first Avengers that came out in like 2012.
No.
Well, Loki's the main antagonist, and the Hulk basically picks him up by his leg and bonk, 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 throws him and says, "Puny God." That's what the gorilla would do to. He would pick
No.
up the first dude by his ankles and just wink, 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 and just smack everybody else with him.
No, if you all fucking collapse on him,
What?
you just need one person to be able to get close enough to be from behind and just fucking chop block his ass, and then you can put him in the figure 4 and
What?
just fucking pound his
What
ass.
happens when he just stands up because he's a gorilla?
He won't stand up because you're stomping the shit out of him.
What happens when he just Donkey Kong bonk?
He doesn't have a fucking barrel.
Listen, I think gorillas are fucking stupid and dumb. However, they're beating the shit out of 100 grown dudes, dude.
No, they aren't. No, they aren't. There's no way
Ba-
because it's too much of them to handle. 10, maybe. I'll give you that. 100, no way. It's like the question of how many like 7-year-olds do you think you could beat up at one time? Eventually, they're gonna, take you down because either you're gonna get tired or
I think you're.
unless you back yourself into to a wall so they can't
Yeah.
get behind you and you just start kicking. I think that was Peter Griffin's
Right, but it's just so funny to me because that tweet I think has like 187 million impressions, and the amount of quotes. Hold on, I'm about to because I've sent plenty of comments on the original tweet. Let me see how many impressions that one tweet has. That one tweet has 211 million views
Jesus.
and 188,000 likes.
See, that's the type of shit, man. That you're like, what the fuck, dude? Like you put something out there like
That's
that.
why social media is awesome.
Yeah, it's like
It's even more funny.
the fuck?
It's even more. It's even more funny because the dude that did the original tweet, he said, "What did I do?" And everyone was like, "You've united us."
Gotta take it on Kong, dude.
The hypotheticals of shit like that, because I was talking with my boys the other last night about it, and then it spiraled into gorilla versus polar bear, who wins? I'm like, dude, one Ric Flair chop to the back, the polar bear's fucking dead, dude. Gorilla clears.
They should have some kind of like PETA would be all over it, but there's some alternate fucking fighting league where they just put these massive animals against each other.
Someone quoted the
And
original.
even like tag team matches, you could have like two gorillas or two and see like if the
That's
gorillas fight each
funny.
other, see if like there's any
I saw.
turns, commentators.
So someone tweeted out, it was like, this is some shit the Romans would do for fun back in the day. They would just
Right,
throw 100 dudes versus one gorilla just for
right.
science.
Yeah, like sell out the Coliseum, dude.
Exactly. Exactly. That's so funny. Well,
If we win, we get to eat for a week. If we lose, you get exiled.
That's funny. Well, if you lose, you're fucking dead, dude. You're beating
Oh
the
yeah,
gorilla.
yeah,
That's funny.
that's true.
Well, we've officially gone a little over an hour. Do you have any final thoughts, opinions, things you want to say?
No, man. Today was a good show, man. Again, we're live. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 7:30 Eastern time. We try to run an hour, but if you can't make it during that time, of course, the video is up on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Check out New Leaf News on YouTube, newleafnews.network or .com. Daily articles. I saw you had we even cover Liverpool soccer, right? That was on.
Yeah, we won the league as of yesterday, and I had my Liverpool scarf over there, and I was, singing "You'll Never Walk Alone" with all the thousands of Liverpoolians that were out there, man.
Yeah. So, also I wanted to start doing something at the end of the show as well. Since it is
Ooh.
baseball season and we are nerfy fucking degenerates.
Oh,
My nerfy pick of the day, no runs first inning, is maybe the funnest bet in all of sports. My bet
I'm
today,
pulling it up
and I
right
want
now. I'm literally
I'm
pulling it up right now to.
I want to track my record as far as on the show. So today my pick will be the formerly known as the Oakland Athletics, versus the Texas Rangers. Nerfy on that. JP Sears is starting with a 3.21 ERA versus Patrick Corbin with a 3.77 ERA. That's my Nerfy bet of the day. I'm going to track, my record as far as what I tell you on the show. But that's the no runs first inning pick of the day. Other than that, man,
Oh,
check out Lawson for his bets.
you know what? Hold on. To interrupt you, I'll also give one.
Okay,
I'm gonna
go ahead.
pick probably the scariest team to do no run first innings. Give me the Marlins and Dodgers under
I,
under
oh,
Edward
I,
Edward Cabrera against Dustin May. For those that play MLB The Show, that Edward Cabrera card back in MLB The Show 21, nightmares. Dude
uh,
was ridiculous. But yeah,
yeah, the Dodgers Yankees, man, scare me. So I
hey,
try to stay away from
hey,
them. So
why not? Why dip your toes in the kiddie pool when you can just jump in the 8 feet? Fuck it, dude.
because I like to win. But
Good
anyway,
answer.
okay, so we'll start keeping track.
Mm.
Write them down. We'll keep you a record every Monday, Wednesday. We'll update you. And follow us. Like I said, Lawson Turner is one of the best betting minds that I've come across. Check out his articles when he's got some on the NBA playoffs. We'll check out our Nerfies now. And I can't wait for football season now after the draft and talking fantasy. But I'm a summer guy, so I can't. I'm looking forward to summer even more than fall football. But anyway,
Mm.
check us out on New Leaf News, Twitter, Instagram. Obviously, if you're watching this, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are on Facebook as well. We have daily content, whether it's politics, sports, entertainment, music, whatever, podcasts, shit like that. Check out the 64-bit Legends. Myself and Melvin Troy are doing great things over there. 64-bit Mania is going to be right around the corner. We have to announce a date for it. Other than that, man, I'm at Bobby Caboose on Instagram, on Twitter, at Lawson underscore 1226 or whatever the fuck your number is. No one cares about your birthday.
Fuck you, buddy.
Um, Christmas is the Boxing Day, and yesterday, the day before is Christmas, and no one, no, your birthday's now an afterthought. Um,
Damn, damn, damn.
but anyway, if you want to take us out, man.
As always, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Legends Clubhouse. I'm Lawson Turner. That's Bobby Caboose. I hope you enjoy